Thank you for joining the Friends Eye View spoilers. I'm with my buddy Jose.
Hello.
So I want to apologize to you for making you sit through this shit, and we're going to be talking about a movie today.
Yes, you should.
we still need to go over that list of movies. I think we can do after this. Is that okay?
Sure. Sounds like a plan.
Create a list of movies that we want to go over. But this, I watched this movie now twice, which I don't admit watching it twice, but I watched it the first time because of interest, because the way they pitched the movie sounded like a movie I wanted to watch.
Gotcha.
And their pitch for the movie was the movie I wanted to watch. It just wasn't the movie they created.
Gotcha.
And then I had to watch it again last night because my brain had an aneurysm. Try to reject that information. So I had to rewatch it so that I could do an analysis and feedback with you.
Mm-hmm.
But this also characterizes some problem areas, with our podcast, it isn't just like, oh, the movie sucks or the movie's good. It's like it sucks or good because of this.
Gotcha.
And so the thing is I'm torn. I want to give it a negative on the scale. Like I know we can't, but I really do want to give it a negative. But I'm also torn because I like vampire lore.
Okay.
Because as you know, I'm working on a screenplay right now that incorporates vampire lore.
Yep.
So I'm a fan of it. And the vampire, I think her name is Victoria.
Yes.
Who is the main vampire of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She is incredibly hot, and without taking that in effect, I think at least because it was a shitty script. I'm not even gonna lie, and we're gonna talk about it, but it was a dog shit script, and it was just so bad. But even with the dog shit script, her character, she showed at least a moderate level of acting skills.
Okay.
Like, it's very hard to see what her full range is, but based off of the shit show that she was given, worked with, I think her character was the only real character that I saw that really had performance potential. And I think in a different movie would be one that was written by somebody with some mediocre level of skill.
Okay. Yeah.
She would do much, much better. But we're talking about the vampire next door. I give it a 2 because of that. I would never pay for this movie. I would never watch it again if I had, even if it was on TV. I would change the channel. Like I said, we're going to talk about that more in a minute. What did you rate it as?
I pretty much between a 2 and a 3. And the reason why I sit there and say that is because, as you are working actively on some screenplays yourself, and that's eventually what I want to do later on. But in order, the person who actually did the screenplay was, I believe, Taylor King. And he actually had a bit part in it. He played Lenny, the ice cream, store owner. He actually wrote it and sold it, and it was made. So anyone who can do that, it gets a thumbs up from me, at least. But like I said, maybe it was because he knew someone in the industry already. And that's probably why he had the leg up, because I'm pretty sure you and I, starting off as, novice screenplay writers, if we turned in something like that, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be made.
Yeah, I would
not right away without our name being recognized. So
I would almost bet $1 million on the idea he was definitely connected somehow.
Okay.
Because from what I have found, even through my adventure, that transitioning to screenwriting is that they are very, very picky on scripts.
Gotcha.
Very, very picky. They don't typically buy good scripts. They buy great scripts, because what they're doing is they're looking at the script potential, going, can I make 5 times what I put in here?
Gotcha.
Now, if you have a connection to Hollywood or a production company, or you just have money, or whatever the case would be, you can, in fact, create anything. That script, like, because I have 2 analysts I talk to, but whenever I finish the script, it goes through analysts who analyzes plots, the conversations, the dialogue, the actions. It analyzes everything, giving me notes how to improve, where the weak points are, different things, because ultimately I want the story to go from a good story to a great story.
Okay.
And if I would have submitted this script to either my analysts, who are titans in the industry, and this is what they do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
One owns a production company, one actually approves and greenlights movies for producers. Both of them would have, because even with a good story, I'll get 60 notes or 100 notes.
Okay.
If I would have sent this, it would have been like 300 notes from one of them, and the other one would just be like, redo it all. This is dog shit.
Okay.
And not to make fun of Mr. King or anything. I just, we're going to be breaking it down, but like, it starts off with one of the things that got to my attention originally when I was watching this was, going to watch this, is like I told you, I really like vampire lore.
Sure.
Been a fan of Underworld.
Blade.
Some of the Blades, yeah. I haven't seen the newest one. I liked, what was it? That HBO show, Blood. True Blood.
True Blood. Yes.
I like True Blood because True Blood kind of went with the concept of what if vampires were living amongst us, not just killing each other like what you have in the Underworld and Blade and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a different take, and I like newer takes of things. And then so you have, and you'll see this in a lot of movies, and this is something you'll do in your screenplays as well. Is every story is, like, for instance, let's say Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah.
There are a million amusement park movies. There are a million dinosaur movies.
Okay.
And they were like, look, I'm going to create an amusement movie with dinosaurs and then add my spin to it, making it something new.
Yeah.
Titanic is just Romeo and Juliet on a boat.
Okay.
And they spun it into something new. And this is really what storytelling is because there's nothing new under the sun. Everything has been done, meaning there's romance movies and thrillers and everything. Every possible genre has been done.
Gotcha.
It's just what you do is you take 2 movies, put them together. Like Fatal Choices is really like John Wick and Taken together. And just a completely new spin to it. The screenplay that you read that I wrote is a new spin to it, and that's how you make something new of it. And it looks like what they tried to do was take, like, The Girl Next Door from the early 2000s. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
Blonde girl. And then combine it with a vampire movie. I don't know which one.
Kind of like Fright Night, maybe?
Possibly. So we're gonna go into the disappointing of Acts 1, 2, and 3. Like inside, like they put in a horror category, which was a far stretch. I mean, you can do vampire and horror kind of category, but the key thing about movies is you're trying to evoke emotional states.
Sure, I wasn't scared at all for this movie. And so I was kind of surprised when, they labeled it as a horror movie.
Yeah, so horror has really nothing to do with what's in the movie. It has thing to do with what type of emotions you are trying to bring out.
Gotcha.
So horror, the thing about horror is horror and comedy are kind of the two genres.
Okay.
That you're not limited on emotions because you can do the polar opposite emotion in the movie and have a good scene.
Okay.
But it's kind of to be expected that this is going to be kind of the overall consensus of the emotion.
Okay.
Like you can have a sad scene in a comedy. You can have a funny scene in a horror, but in a horror you're trying to evoke horror. You're trying to evoke I am scared. I'm on the edge, I'm in fight or flight, or that those emotions that come along with it.
Sure.
Yeah, it definitely did not get that at all. The exciting open, because you saw the exciting open. The exciting open was literally it was at the beginning of the movie, and it was literally him arguing with his dad about college.
Yeah.
Just right around that part. And that doesn't tell me anything about the movie. Yes, it introduces me to the protagonist.
Yes.
But it doesn't tell me what the movie's about. This exciting open is supposed to grab my attention.
Gotcha. Okay.
Why would I continue to watch this shit?
Okay.
You're supposed to, and the protagonist, you're supposed to like your protagonist, yes, but you're supposed to establish empathy. All good movies, you are empathetic to the protagonist because you give a shit about, you feel sorry for them, you give a shit, you care about what happens because I am potentially going to put the protagonist through a literal or figurative hell.
Okay.
And
I didn't get that at all. What I got as, not ours, but the protagonist of the movie was that he was lazy. But at the same time, he wasn't lazy. He was just lazy that he didn't want to go to school because he did have a job.
No, the thing about it is like, it's like they went through trying to establish empathy.
Okay.
And like the dumbest way, like the most idiotic possible way is they made this dude the ultimate loser because we can feel sorry for somebody who is nerdy. We can feel sorry for somebody who has a little trouble with girls, whatever.
Sure.
This dude he talked to his parents like an idiot. He lived at home, had no ambitions. He got bullied at work, bullied by two bullies, in which only one of them even had the look of a bully.
Yeah.
And he was a pervert. Because we all did it. Like when we were kids, we were trying to like sneak a peek at a hot girl whenever we could. It's what you do when you're like 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
You don't do that shit when you were 21. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And he didn't do it once. He did that shit like 4 fucking times. And he was still getting beat up by the bullies.
Yeah.
And I mean, everything about it is like, okay, look, at this point, I can't even feel it sympathetic. Matter of fact, at this point, I hate the protagonist. Matter of fact, my favorite parts of the movie was when the little skinny girl from the ice cream shop kicked him in the nuts and punched him in the face. Because I wanted to kick the writers in the nuts and punch them in the face for making me sit through this shit.
Well, but see, the thing is, the writers didn't make you sit through this movie. You chose to sit through it because we're reviewing it.
No, they made me sit through it the first fucking time because they promised me conflict. They promised me a specific movie. And they did not give me that movie.
What they promised you. Gotcha.
It is called Bait and Switch, and it is illegal in every single.
But for me, regardless of whether it's a bad movie or not, I will never stop watching one. And then you still learn something from every movie that, for me, in my opinion, you still learn something. So,
well, of course. Now we are going through this.
Yes.
We're going through this. We are reviewing.
Yes.
I'm just saying, I didn't even pay for the movie and I want a refund. Okay. So, so the protagonist, no impact whatsoever. Fucking
Gotcha.
I hate him. Okay?
Gotcha.
He has no clearly defined goal.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Agree. Yeah.
The protagonist is supposed to have a goal. And if his goal was to get the girl, which is literally what the goal was for the girl next door, was to get the girl. That was his goal, physical goal. He actually got the girl.
Yeah.
This motherfucker goes through the whole movie. He is in love with who apparently becomes the antagonist.
Yes.
Which you don't fucking know about until Act 3.
Yeah, Diane.
He doesn't get her. He doesn't even get the vampire girl, even though the vampire girl clearly states, I will be anything you want me to be. He doesn't get her either. And then the skinny girl who punched him in the nuts, the true hero of the movie, for punching that kid in the nuts and punching him in the face, she tries to hook up with him. Yeah. And he doesn't even get her. He goes the whole movie, doesn't even get the girl. So that's not the.
Well, for me, at the end in Act 3, I kind of thought that he got the girl because she invited him into the ice cream shop, and he goes. I say, "You gonna come in because it's raining out here?" And he goes in. And that's where pretty much the movie ends. So I, being who I am, put that into my perspective that, okay, he's going with her, which was Liz.
All right. So
that's how I figured it out. That's how I thought of it as, that he did finally get her. And, he kind of, Diane did
character. It wasn't even a state character. She, you know what I'm saying? Like I could have literally removed every scene that she was in, and it wouldn't affect the movie at all.
True.
So he's fucking lazy. He had no fucking plot. Because the protagonist is supposed to have a problem that they need to solve, and that problem is usually the antagonist, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Whatever that, a personal antagonist where they're overcoming some personal flaws and different things, or an external antagonist, like an enemy of some sort.
Gotcha. Okay.
The only person who had a beef with, and this really pissed me off. You got the inciting. So the inciting event is just dumb. Is meeting the girl,
Okay.
The vampire. She was her whole plot line. She was the one who wanted to stop the antagonist, and it pissed me off because she promised massive amounts of violence and conflict, and you're like in the car, she's like, I'm gonna rip her skin off and I'm gonna wear it. And then when they finally come at it, it's basically some losers example of what you do. You have two hot chicks in a scene. They have a brief scuffle, then start making out in the middle of the fucking room. Okay. And then what was confusing is so now he meets the vampire. Then she's like, well, I need you to drive her. Well, why? Why does he need to drive you? She's a fucking vampire. I mean, she could use over. Like, why is she, why? And then you go into like what she, like, they're trying to make it like the States, It's like, she was like, I've got to kill people who kill, like, which is a good premise. Like, if you took that premise of having to have revenge for your love being killed 200 years ago, now that would make a great premise for a movie. She was talking about it. She was like, she was like, made it sound like they were killing vampires, right?
Yeah.
Which would have been cool because we've watched movies where you kill vampires and we have expectations for movies that kill vampires, when they fight,
Yep. God bless you. Yep.
And then she just goes in this house, this random dude's house who's a human, kills him. And then one of the dudes she kills is like an old dude on security. I'm like, no. And then she was like, well, I'm killing their descendants. They have no true power. So it's like, what? No, like, there's no revenge here. Now it's just fucking stupid. And they were doing this, and then, like, there was some blood, and it's like the only stakes that were there were he could have been seen with blood on his window. He could have been questioned. He could have gone to jail. And you're like, that's not high enough stakes. When they say stakes, Mr. King, if you are listening to this podcast, when they say stakes, this is what they're meaning. Why should we give a fuck? Because we're going to be putting this protagonist to hell. So, like, to give you an example, if the stakes were he's going to lose his wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not high enough stakes because divorce happens all the time. A lot of times, divorce is a good thing.
Yeah.
But if I play up the story that they were high school sweethearts, their families were close together, they were best friends, they went to college together, they've been helping each other, maybe one gave them a kidney because they needed it in order to and maybe they have a couple of kids together, and I set that up, and then I go, and if she found out, she would be gone. She would leave him. Now it's high stakes because now I'm like, oh shit, I don't want her to find out because they're good for each other. Like,
gotcha.
So the stakes have to be paramount, but it has to be set up correctly for me to care and feel like there's something to lose here. There was nothing for him to lose.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he ran into a cop. His father asked questions in the morning and just magically accepted an answer of a deer hitting the side of the car and splattering blood and running off. That amount of blood, you get what I'm saying. Like,
of course.
And then you know what pissed me off even more? Like, I don't think I've ever been more furious. The midpoint is the point in which essentially the biggest thing that can happen here happens. You still got to create more conflict and obviously increase the stakes. But this is supposed to be like, it's supposed to create the most conflict. You're going to be like, oh shit, his old life is over. Their new life is, this is what it is. He's got to embrace the new life at this point. The old guy, remember the old guy at the security guard that he killed? And she shoots like 4 shots at the dude and misses. Doesn't even hit the kid.
Yeah.
I think he should have gotten shot. It's because I hate his character. And I hated his character in that scene too. With his little goofy ass little walking in and trying to hide like he's a spy. It's like, you're doing too much. You know what you're not doing? Writing a good fucking story. So he falls down on the ground.
Yeah.
And then she goes over to him like, are you okay? And he hesitates like he was shot, but then was like, oh, I was playing dead. I was so fucking mad. I'm like, I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate every character in this movie. The only character that I like is the vampire girl. It's because that's the only character you can like.
Which one, Diane or?
No, fuck Diane.
Victoria, okay.
Diane, I would run her over with a car. I'm talking about Victoria. But then you also had Stuttering Stanley in there. You know,
oh yeah,
where he's just like, every time he gets around Diane, he's like, la, 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 la.
Yeah, that Martin.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
I'm like, that dude, and then he breaks in his house, wakes up the kid by putting his foot in his face. Number one, you're not breaking into my house. Number two, you're not putting a foot in my face. I'm gonna have a foot. I'm gonna cut that shit off. And it's not funny. It's fucking pathetic. And just like, and then you go into Act 3 where you're promised this true conflict. Where it's gonna be this build up and this action because you haven't got anything yet.
Sure.
But you had two quote unquote violent scenes in a horror movie, and they weren't even violent. You didn't see the violence. You see the aftermath of her ripping their necks out.
Yep.
And then they promise you this very climactic revenge that she's not going to leave. She's not going to leave here. And only one of us are going to leave here. You're like, you introduce the antagonist as the antagonist in Act 3, which is fine if you do it that way. But none of that shit made fucking sense. Like, how did she become the antagonist? How did she find out that she was the antagonist? You know?
Yeah.
Because she had sex with her? Because that's what he was trying to imply. Because they went to bed with each other, now she knows that. You're like, what?
Well, I mean, technically, you know, in any aspect of life, if you do become intimate with someone, you kind of know them a little bit more.
You're right. But the way that they set this up, like, even at 14 years old, as a virgin, I would not even have been as pathetic as to write these scenes like this. You know?
Sure thing.
It's what I'm getting at.
Oh, this is funny. Wow.
And I'm trying not to lay into Mr. King and then just move
out here.
Yeah. But it's like you could have done so much differently. Like the opening scene, you could have had, because we already talked about the climax, right? To where you literally, it's just the makeout scene between two chicks, and then the two characters because I hate all the characters, but two of the characters I hate the most, the ice cream owner, I hated his character, and he's the only one who wrote the damn script. And I didn't even know that before I hated him. Like, I just hated his character. And then Stuttering Stanley, they get the girls.
Yeah.
Drive off into the sunset. You're like, okay, so how would I do this differently? Right off the top of my head. Exciting open. If we're going to go for the revenge plot, maybe go back 200 years, 1800s, maybe old style house, maybe fire everywhere, maybe a family, you know, a husband and kid laying dead, maybe Victoria dead or dying, you know, blood everywhere, and then maybe have the person who turned her come in and think about turning her and actually turn her and have it show Victoria trying to fight the turning. Now, if you did something like that, then I'd be like, okay, cool. Now we have a reason to kind of, we establish sympathy.
Yeah.
We established the problem, the antagonist, protagonist, and you established that, you know, why I should give a fuck, why I should continue watching this movie, you know? And then it's just kind of go through there. But you're going to have to evoke there has to be conflict. There was no real conflict. Like the conflicts were people getting kicked in the nuts, which is not even funny for an adult. Like it's funny when you're like 10, you know?
Yeah, sure.
But after like 21, 22, you know, like it's not. So you can't even go comedy. It's more like it could be funny if you're like really immature, but over time it's just like this is dumb.
I mean, they had different takeaways in the movie. Like I mentioned earlier before we started reviewing the movie, that you do have some takeaways that they do stress a point. He did stand up to his bullies, right?
Yeah, but that wasn't even like a part of the plot. Now
you're right. But it's a takeaway. In my eyes, it's a takeaway.
Okay.
He realized after all of that, what he wanted to do was to write.
It was still fucking dumb.
See, I'm trying to turn the other cheek here and still say, okay, even though it was a bad movie that...
Okay, so I'd add a couple of things you could take away from it.
Yeah.
Like I said, and, you know, it's good to have takeaways from movies. Like if there's a moral lesson or whatever.
Sure.
That's fine. But at least their focus should be to tell a great story.
Yeah.
Now, inside that great story, you can have moral things and questions where they question morality or grow as a person. Yes, you can have that, but you got to also you got to tell a well-rounded story because it's like a symphony, you know?
Yeah.
Like if I just play random noises, like let's say I take one of Beethoven's symphonies, right?
Yeah.
Which are world-renowned. And obviously some of the great pieces of music ever. And I just randomize their notes.
Okay.
It's just going to sound like shit.
Yeah, of course.
What makes it good is the fact that it is structured and that it's set up to where, you know, everything flows correctly and there's highlights in it. There's where the music gets more intense and a little less intense and different things. There's that almost like a dynamic between a high and end notes, you know?
Sure. Okay.
Like in a movie, you're going to have going toward the goal and away from the goal and conflict. Okay. And there's going to be a change of emotions. Is the protagonist going to be happy and they're going to be sad? There's conflict. You got to have this because it's what makes this all. Because movies should be like a symphony. When I watch it, it should make sense in my head and feel right, you know. And nothing about this felt right.
Gotcha.
It felt he may have structured it the way that you're supposed to, the 3-act structure, but the plot points were not where they needed to be.
Gotcha.
Were done in a way that needed for me to enjoy it. Like I watched it twice because we were supposed to dissect it. So
yeah, of course.
I only watched it one time by choice.
Yeah.
The other time because I needed to remember the shit so I could talk about it.
Gotcha. I only watched it once because it's the movie that we were reviewing. Yes.
It's not a film. I will definitely not. I would never pay for it. I would never watch it again if it were on. I don't think the script should have survived one industry notes.
Gotcha.
Like, because it's a good concept if they would have done it right. Like, I personally wouldn't do the girl next door vampire thing. Not saying it can't work. There just has to be better everything in order for it to truly hit the mark. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So that's why I say it's definite 2. I wouldn't recommend it. And I apologize to Mr. King if I'm going too brutal on you, but this is what my industry pros do to me when I submit them a script. Like, literally, one of them I showed you. I showed you where he literally wrote on a scene. It was like, this scene is dog shit. You remember that?
Yes, I sure do.
But that's what I'm used to. I'm used to people just going, this doesn't work. This is crap. This is good. This is dope. This is nice. This sucks. Remove this. I hate this character. I hate this dialogue.
I mean, because if it doesn't make sense, then it just doesn't make sense. And people who, review your screenplays for you, they've been in it for a while, that they pretty much know,
Exactly. And because of that, I'm learning. And like I said, this screenplay would have not survived first round of notes. Like, the whole thing would have been essentially, it would have been a full rewrite, is what it would have been.
Yeah.
Potentially even a different movie. Because with rewrites, because you've seen even like Fatal Choices, like you read Fatal Choices, it is vastly different from the first screenplay that I wrote.
Okay.
It is essentially a similar but very different movie. Echoes, which I just wrote, is a similar but vastly different movie because of the rewrites. So you may not hit, like, the Blood Queen is going to be vastly different, way different. Because I told you the direction I'm going with it.
Yeah.
It's going to be night and day difference. Like, the other ones are at least similar. So it's 50-50, like similar to difference. This one's going to be vastly different, like 1,000% different. But that's a part of taking a good story or okay story and eventually making it a great story. You have to go through this process. Like I said, this wouldn't survive the first round of notes.
Gotcha. Hey, I hear you. So you're sticking with your 2?
Like I said, as I want to give it negative, I want to even give it 0. But the only reason why I can't give it a 0 is because, like I said, Vampire Lore, I really, really fucking like it. And because one person in that entire movie was remotely decent actor or actress, and like I said, it was just with what she had. Like she could be actually a horrible actress. I don't know. I just saw potential out of her character. Every single character in there, I despised. The protagonist, I hated him. The owner of the ice cream store, I wanted to punch him in the face. I mean, I know we all had dick bosses, but it was like stupidly dick. Like, just like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like it's just didn't make any sense. The bullies, one of them looked like he could have been a bully type. The other one with his purple fucking hair, wearing a purple windbreaker. Who the fuck are you bullying? And why the fuck is anyone bullying in their 20s anyway?
Yeah.
Usually that bullying aspect usually ends after high school. Why are you still getting your ass kicked at 20s? And then the car situation was weird. It's like, why don't you have insurance? Oh, you have insurance. You just didn't know. Your dad has the car. Like, and you have to ride your bike to an ice cream place. Why? What? And then his little peeping Tom crap from Act 1. Like, not even just from, like, when he peeped on the vampire girl, but he supposedly had a date with the blonde chick, Diana. He was walking around the house to take pictures of her swimming. It's in her swimsuit. It's like, I thought you had a date with her. Why aren't you preparing for the date? Why are you being a loser? Matter of fact, I don't even consider the guys bullies anymore. I consider them public servants because they were beating this kid up and he needed to get beat up. So I don't even consider them bullies. Like, it was just like, it's like, I don't know, like, what, like an adult wrote this? Like an adult. like a full blown man wrote this.
I think it was father, son, father and son, but they were, father of course is old enough, and the son, the son I think is Taylor King, and then the father is Shaun King, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so now that makes a little sense. Like, so here's what happened. The kid wrote the script. The father is obviously connected in the industry. This was clearly done by a child. And I'm not saying a child should not write movies, but it's an adult world, you know? And this is a supposedly adult movie. If the kid's going to have to write at what the kid's level is, you know?
Yes.
So, like, if this was kind of like a kid's movie and kind of revamped and this is a kid's movie, I think it could be much better, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think this works as an adult movie. Maybe as a kid movie, possibly. I would definitely change a lot with it, but I would go that route.
Gotcha.
That's my thing. That's my take on it. My apologies to the Kings. This is just what this is how I felt. I was angry. I wasn't even.
Well, I'm glad you were able to get your feelings out.
It's been.
I hope you feel better now.
Been therapeutic because I was raging.
There you go.
I'm like, my PTSD and shit can't handle this.
For next week, I would like to cover American Fiction.
That's a movie.
American Fiction starring Jeffrey Wright. Just came out this year.
Cool. We got to make this list, man.
We will. Let's go with this movie. We'll speak offline about the list that we're going to start to create, and then we can reveal that list on next week's podcast.
No, we don't need to. We'll do it over the weeks.
Okay, that'll work.
So American Fiction. Can you send me that link?
I sure will. I most certainly will.
Well, I'm glad. You know, this is the first time our scores were very close.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, they were, and for valid reasons.
I didn't fool your ratings.
Well, yeah, she fell asleep, so yeah. But you gotta gain her attention in the beginning. If you don't get her attention in the first 5-10 minutes of a movie of anything, she's not gonna finish it. So
absolutely. Until next week, buddy.
Yes, sir. We'll talk soon. Have a great one.
I'll send you those documents.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, buddy.